Justin Miller and Midtown Video presents The Justin Miller Show. Yeah. Justin Miller and Midtown Video presents
Justin Miller Show. This is the Justin Miller Show. Welcome to the Justin Miller Show. This is the Justin Miller Show. Justin Miller Show. This is the Justin Miller Show. Welcome to the Justin Miller Show. This is the Justin Miller Show. Bringing you all the latest news. Whoa, 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 whoa. The Justin Miller Show. Justin Miller Show. Justin Miller Show. Justin Miller Show. The Justin Miller Show. Made on a video.
Louder, Alex. I need you louder in my ear. Thank you. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Happy Hour Live with Midtown Video and your host, Jesse Miller. Today is going to be a totally awesome episode, as usual. But it's a Miami 4:45. That's 4:53 for my friends that are not from Miami. That means it's happy hour. It's time to have a drink. You'll notice I've got here my special Broadfield distribution glass because we're celebrating Broadfield today. They're going to have one of their technical representatives, Glenn Seaman, up later in the show. Cheers to all my fans. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to talk about replay. We're going to introduce you to Jeremy Fisher, 3-time Suncoast Emmy winner. And then we're going to talk about NDI Remote. Cheers. That really helps the 4K go down smooth. My first guest from Michigan, I think it's Oak Park, Michigan, and Miami, Florida, like I said, is 3-time Suncoast Emmy winner, video replay operator and editor, Jeremy Fisher. Welcome, Jeremy. How are you doing?
Doing great, Jesse. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's really exciting to have you on the show. I have always been fascinated from the first instant replay I got to see watching the Miami Dolphins until today. That whole subset of the industry is really incredible. How did you get into sports replay operation?
Well, I grew up with parents who make television in Michigan, so they do like weddings and parties and stuff like that. I knew I didn't want to be involved in other people's lives, but I love sports. And I knew I wasn't going to be too much of an athlete participating in it, but I love to watch them. And, you know, I ended up going to college and studying journalism in New Jersey at Rutgers University. And I worked my way from being a production assistant in New York all the way, moved down here to be an associate producer, and I was moving along that path. And then I got with CBS 4 here in Miami, WFOR, and I was there just as they started becoming a digital editing house. They moved into Final Cut, and they really tried to push people to learn it. And so I learned how to, edit and got very good there. Went freelance on my own and became an editor, and then ended up getting back together with somebody who I had worked with in the past and at what is now Bally Sports. And so I was doing studio work with them. And then eventually as an editor, they said, we need somebody to fill in and learn this new hardware that we have. So I learned replay on the Grass Valley dyno system. And then that actually upset a lot of the EBS operators. And I've become brethren with them, and I see why they were mad at me. So I eventually learned EBS, and now I really make my main living doing EBS. I can still do dyno, and yeah.
So bring me into the truck. Is it really fast editing? How many cameras are you looking at? What's the setup like?
Every setup is different. So sometimes we have 4 cameras that we're looking at, sometimes 8 cameras, sometimes 16 cameras. But usually the main setup for the truck is that most players or most operators look at, 2 to 4 different cameras. And then we have other things that are just buried and record, and we can go back and pull them if we need to get to it.
And are you sort of tagging plays all the time? Is there a lot of typing, or maybe there are some keyboard shortcuts for touchdown, sack, interception, that kind of stuff?
Well, I've learned with EVS through the NFL on CBS that they do what they call keywording, so that if something happens, it's a touchdown, it's a field goal, it's a injury, a big play, defense, face. They like to save all their things by keyword, but most of the smaller regional networks don't really deal with keywords. But every single play is, something just happens. You back up the camera and you set it to the beginning of the play and you hear what the producer wants to see. Because the producer is pretty much deciding what he wants to see the replay as. And then he'll call out a list of different replays that we'll go to. And then the director says, okay, get ready to roll this camera's replay, roll this camera's replay. And we're being called either letters or colors. Not usually numbers, because numbers go to cameras.
So would an example be like director shouts out, all right, green channel, let me have that hit from angles 3, 4, and 5 or something like this?
No, it would be, okay, back that play up. Okay, we're going to go red to X to purple, or
Very cool.
gold to silver to red or something like that.
Alex, I want to show a rollout that caught my attention. I know there's you can't give us the originals because of copyright and stuff, but this is on Jeremy's Vimeo. This is a rollout from a really cool wintry game at Lambeau Field. Let's see that clip. Production, particularly in the post-COVID environment or the present COVID environment, is the big thing. Were you at the stadium? Were you even in Wisconsin? And was that you had to edit that the day of the show, while it's going on for the end of the game? Is that right?
That is correct. I did not go to the game. Unfortunately, I'm a locally based editor down here, EVS operator, and I don't travel much for work. I'll go.
Do they give you
everywhere.
individual feeds of every single camera?
Not every camera, but they do give some of what we saw already pre-edited towards the middle and end of the show, so we can take the best looks and put together our version of the way the game looked to us as it came down. Sometimes it's just a matter of using pieces of what they have and shortening them down, and we're dealing with replays and what people would see at home on TV, we're kind of summarizing it in a few tight pictures.
So I want to now just chat about some of these awards that you've won. The Suncoast Emmys, they come around every year. They're voted on by your colleagues or professionals in the field. Tell me a little bit about the Ricky Williams one of my favorites.
So the Ricky Williams one, I was working at CBS 4, and Jim Barry is somewhat known for his jingles, and he likes to find interesting topics, and he gets instrumental and raps about what it is that he's seeing and hearing. And so we put together this one, and it was really early on my digital editing path, and I kind of sat down at Final Cut Pro, and I wanted to learn how to use it, so I basically took every single filter that they had and kind of put it onto the video as it went. And thinking about it, it's pretty crazy all the rendering time that it used to take, because those computers were super slow.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, I know that you got to get to some work tonight. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. Thank you for being on our show. Alex, can you take us out with a little bit of Jim Barry's Suncoast Emmy-winning Run, Ricky, Run?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time for your Miami Dolphins!
At Dolphin Games now we're having way too much fun. Checking out the team to see Ricky run to the left, to the right, all day and night. When Ricky hits the hole, he's gone to daylight. Piling up records and yards when he carries this scary. Other teams better be wary. Number 34 is a bad mother. Coach Dave didn't want no other. Running back carrying the rock to kill the clock. What a jock, he's a
That was spectacular. Once again, Jeremy Fisher, thank you for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Excellent.
It's a pleasure to spend happy hour with you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of Midtown. Have been there for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy, and happy hour. Thanks for having a drink with us. Jeremy often can be found at the world-famous University of Miami Hecht Athletic Center ACC network control room operating EVS from sunny Coral Gables. That's hilariously, getting back to the remote production, your friend at the show here, Lindsay Cogan, says to me this afternoon, when's Jeremy getting here? So once again, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you, and we'll check you out again soon. Thanks for joining. Now it's time to transition to a piece of technology. Wouldn't be the show if we didn't get to talk about some cool stuff coming out of the brain of Dr. Andrew Cross, VizRT now. We used to call him our friends over at Newtek. Have you guys been using NDI? I have. NDI is pretty awesome, and as Jeremy appeared remotely, as a replay operation now has gone remote, we're doing, melts from Miami for Lambeau Field. We need tools to bring in guests of the show remotely. And Newtek has provided just that in a program called NDI Remote. So first, I want to welcome a guest, an expert in the field, Broadfield Distribution's Glenn Seaman, who's been tirelessly working out the kinks with me on this. And then later, we're going to actually provide a demonstration of how to use NDI Remote. And so, from Texas, remind me the city in Texas, please welcome Glenn Seaman.
Hey, Jesse, welcome from Frisco, Texas, just north of Dallas.
Frisco, Texas. It's great to have you on the show, man. I really appreciate it. Here's another nod to the remote from Frisco, Texas. You guys, you're the other side of Broadfield Distribution's up in Long Island. Is that right?
Correct.
So these are the guys that we're getting Bird Dog NDI products from, and famously Netgear's M4250 line of switches, which happens to be my favorite line. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but tell me a little bit about your experience with NDI so far, Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, NDI for a number of years now. The thing I love about NDI is, granted, we haven't had a trade show, but it used to be every time I went to NAB, Infocom, whatever, there were more and more folks supporting NDI, and it was just great to see the growth of that. 2020 really was the year of NDI because everybody had to be, socially distanced. Everybody had to do this, and I've always said NDI is built for that. The beauty of NDI is if you've got a network jack, if you can ping it, you can send video to it or get video from it. And as we're showing now, with what we're shooting with NDI 5, now if you're on the network, you can get NDI video almost anywhere, and that's just really been great. It's been a great game changer for being able to bring people that are video novices into the world. I mean, granted, they have different technologies they need to learn, but we don't have to talk about the difference between SDI and HDMI and the reason to run one over the other, and running RS-232 control. The ability to have a single cable that plugs in a camera, and now anybody can quickly set up and have control of a camera and have audio, video, everything coming in. It's just made it so easy. And also just the fact that because of the nature of it, because of the nature of everything we've gone through in the last year, where a lot of times it's just a temporary setup for people, being able to just run one wire temporarily, to create an overflow room or to, expand where they're having either, worship or having meetings has just been really a game changer for us.
It's worth mentioning that Glenn is appearing on our show using this tool, NDI Remote. It's totally wild. Whereas our buddy Jeremy appeared via Zoom. We're using the TriCaster 2 Elite with Live Call Connect, and that was very easy to bring in our Zoom participant, Jeremy. But Glenn is coming in using NDI Remote, so we are unfettered from the bandwidth and resolution limitations inherent in Zoom. So that's pretty cool. But even cooler, okay? Even cooler. Check this out. Alex, are you able to take my desktop? Yeah. So this is my desktop, and here is Glenn on the NDI Remote tool. I wanted to say that it's useful to show that there's a tally system involved. Like, because my TriCaster is taking Glenn as a remote feed, then when he's on preview, he gets a green. Is there a red bar across your screen right now since you're live on the air, Glenn?
Yeah, and so I think we missed the thing too is we didn't talk about necessarily how it connected. All I did was you sent me, and I think you're going to show that in a minute, but I'm connected through a web browser. So I literally just clicked on a link. It opened up my web browser. It asks if I can, like anything, it asks if it can use my camera. And I say yes, and then I'm sitting here looking at myself. But, I can tell whether I'm in program or preview based on the fact that, either get red or green. And if I'm blue, it just means, hey, I'm just sitting in a multi-view or somewhere. So I actually know when I'm live and when I'm not.
Well, I just am blown away. Like we said, on a single cable, you can get, if it's PoE, you get power. You get video, you get audio, you get tally, you get control. It's like NDI is the new Triax, I'm fond of saying, except that this Triax is coming in all the way from Frisco, Texas. So let's show the team here, the Midtown Videos viewers, what it looks like to run NDI Remote. And so here is my desktop, and I've just opened up NDI Remote. Now you see that I've got several connections that I could use. Oh, you don't see my mouse. That's no fun. Well, suffice it to say, there are several connections here that I could use, and I've only got one enabled right now. And so what I did was I clicked on this share button, okay? And it says, okay, copy this, or even email it directly. I want to copy it, right? And email it to somebody, or just click on this email button, and then automatically my email pops up and says, here, send this link to somebody. And I did. I emailed the link to Glenn like that. And then all he had to do was click on a link. So to show you what it looks like on the receiving side, here is an email that I received from Glenn, and you can see that you can see that I clicked on this link from Glenn, and here I am. So because I'm on the web here, and you see this little red light at the top of the tab, wow. That's all it takes for me to send my video to Glenn's NDI studio monitor. And again, I've got Glenn's NDI studio monitor just because he clicked on the link that I emailed to him. It's a contribution method. It's a contribution method, so it's really one-way communication. But because we've both got NDI tools, he's getting a return feed from me. That was a very fast demonstration. I hope you guys were paying attention. Maybe we can go up to a 2-up on me and Glenn one more time. Yeah, so you see Glenn's getting tally information right through this NDI Remote program. It's a pretty effective tool, and like I said, unfettered by the resolution and bandwidth limitations of programs like Zoom and Teams. It's using the WebRTC protocol, which is very cool. And Glenn, I don't normally let guys on my show that have as nice looking cameras as I do. Why don't you tell me about your setup? We got to be the best looking guys on the show, you know?
Yeah. Well, my setup came from, watching you about a year ago when you were on a show with me, and I'm like, damn, I'm jealous. So I'm running a Sony A7R3, and I've got a Sony the 24 to 70 2.8 lens, and I'm just feeding that in using a Atomos Connect, so just coming in from my camera, converting it into an HDMI, so it's acting as a webcam. And those are little things. You've talked about those little things that just elevate your production beyond a webcam, beyond that look, just making it look much better. So,
well, it looks fantastic, man. Thank you for inspiring our viewers. Just because we're on the web doesn't mean we have to use webcams, right? Let's crank it up a notch. And if you'd like to know how or where to crank it up a notch, your friends at Midtown Video, our partners at Broadfield Distribution, we know what to do to get your video looking and sounding great, whether it's on the local network using NDI, whether you're streaming to YouTube on Midtown Video's live happy hour, or bringing in remote guests all the way from Frisco, Texas via Dr. Andrew Cross's NDI-enabled NDI Remote program. Glenn, thank you so much for your time today and for being on our show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I think you missed one thing, which is another important thing about this. Not only are we getting this great quality, but this again is super low latency. So this is, like you said, it's like having Skype or Teams or any of those things, but much higher quality, super low latency. So just a really phenomenal solution.
Cool. Well, thank you for your contribution to the show today. And That about wraps her up. From all of your friends here at the Dot Studio in Midtown Video, big thank you to Alex Girol, the technical director, the audio engineer, the streaming technician, the camera operator, the first AC, the man in the control room. Alex, fantastic work today. I really appreciate it. Thank you to our guests, Jeremy D. Fisher, Glenn Seaman, Broadfield Distribution, and thank you to you, our audience. We love it when you guys tune in. We love it when you post your questions in the YouTube chat room, and we'll be sure to answer every single one of them. Tune in next time when we do something else amazing and totally awesome on Midtown Video Live. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. That was awesome, Glenn. Thank you so much.
Justin Miller and Midtown Video presents the Justin Miller Show. Yeah. Justin Miller and Midtown Video presents
Justin Miller Show. This is the Justin Miller Show.